Sarah Belmont, and with me as always is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. Happy Thursday night.
Happy Thursday and happy 8th anniversary to us
Yes, yes,
as
happy.
we published our first podcast in late January 2017.
Yes, we did, and here we are, 8 years later. I think, yes, I think I sent you a message last night about it, and you sent a message back to me that we've gone through high school and college. So I guess now we're starting grad school.
Yeah, yeah, grad school,
Yeah,
what law school, whatever. It's
yeah, but,
like we're going the distance on this thing. I'm looking forward to the 10 year.
yeah, yeah. Me too.
And
Decade.
the decade that has gone through many transitions. I was
Yeah.
also thinking how it's funny we've moved to a Thursday night. I feel like there are long periods of time where we're on one night, and
Mhm.
then because of content, like eventually we'll get back to Tuesdays,
Yep.
probably sooner than we did last year because April is on the horizon. But so before we get into Paradise and some of like the one news item you have, I have to tell you, over the weekend
Yeah.
I did a binge watch,
Okay.
um, because I finally did it. I finally committed to watching the first season of Landman.
Oh yeah, it's on my list of things I want to check out.
So I basically had it on my TV from about 11 a.m. to about 7 a.m. and I think, or 7 p.m. And then I think I had to finish the last episode or watch the full last episode
Yeah.
the next night. And I was, it's an artsy show. So
Mm.
there's a lot of time where I was able to do stuff while watching it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also not that complicated of a show, in my
Okay.
opinion. It's not bad. I understand why people like it, especially if they like Yellowstone. I mean, it's the same
It's a Taylor.
showrunner, same
Yeah,
writer. Yeah, Sheridan.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but what was really funny, and I kid you not, because I was talking to my parents about this show over the weekend because they're the ones who were really like, Sarah, you got to watch Landman. You got it. When are you going to watch Landman? For
Yeah.
months. And then I finally did because I finally got Paramount Plus for my own purposes.
Hmm.
And in watching it, I thought to myself, I need to look this up because this score
Yeah.
reminds me so much of This Is Us.
Huh.
Need to see if the composer is the same. It's not.
Okay. Huh.
But I was sitting there and I did not look this up, but I am 99% sure the score of the same composer composed score of Paradise is the same guy as This Is Us, because there are themes that
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, that's very eerily similar. But so that apparently my mom was telling me my dad said the same thing.
Huh.
And he wasn't even in, like, he wasn't like a super fan of This Is Us. Okay, he saw it on TV every once in a while my mom was watching it, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he said that. And then I was telling her about how, and then I had to figure out if Sheridan is also behind Friday Night Lights, because I don't know what it is. Both shows take places in Texas,
Hmm.
but there's something about the cinematography, there's something about the writing that gave me so many Friday Night Lights vibes. And I looked it up and I didn't really see anything, but I guess my mom heard in an interview he was a part of their writers room. He did have something
Ah,
to do with the show,
okay.
but which makes sense. It
Yeah,
makes more sense to me that he would, like, that would be a starting point in his career at like a low level position,
yeah.
and he worked his way up. And
Ma-
but there's still, you learn from your mentors and everything, but you can definitely see how that, whatever role he had there,
mhm.
helped shape him for storytelling, because there was just something about the way it was shot. And I've never been to Texas, but between this show and Friday Night Lights, I feel as though arguably they do a good job about really showing you how big of a state is
Yeah.
the state is, and also how there's a lot of nothing.
Hmm.
It's a lot of desert, and also and I think that's also pertaining to the places where, I mean, we're talking about the oil fields,
Yeah. Yeah.
talking about like places where, yeah, it's not the big cities that we're focused on. So, and I think Billy Bob did a good job, but like I said, I wasn't blown away by anything. It was a very straightforward thing. I Things happen within the first three episodes that was like, okay, I'll figure out. I want to see at least how this whole season ends. Um, but and overall, if you're like me and grew up watching Friday Night Lights and kind of miss it every now and then, I feel like this is a good substitute for that. It's very similar,
Yeah. Yeah.
but different at the same time.
Huh, huh. Well, I know I'm just looking at his bio right now. He was not a part of Friday Night Lights, but whenever he was an actor, he did have some acting roles as far as Walker, Texas Ranger, and um, and then as far and also as far as uh, TV at this, I guess there's law. Oh yeah, Landman, Lioness, Boss. These are more recent shows, but
Yeah,
yeah,
he's a
yeah.
big showrunner now.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But also Mayor of Kingstown. I don't know if he did that one as well. Huh.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's funny because I've watched maybe the first few episodes of Mayor of Kingstown, and it
yeah,
did not. I was like, no, it's not
yeah,
for me. He seems to have a deal with Paramount Plus.
yeah, yeah. He definitely
So,
does. All those big
he
shows.
does.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of which, I guess he even had an acting role. There is a tie-in to Star Trek. I guess he was on Star Trek Enterprise whenever he was still acting. And speaking of Paramount Plus, I was also on that service, that platform this past weekend watching the Star Trek Section 31 film, and
Yeah.
I did a live review about it. So I won't spend too much time on it here, but yeah, it happened, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think you sent out some tweets and you're like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
that happened. That
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
What is expected to happen during the Puppy Bowl this year is the Superman trailer will be dropped. And I'm all I can say is I feel like I've seen the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's so funny how like with this film. I mean, I don't know if people are just the outrage machine is just like the algorithm just drives it these days. Because I was watching a football game Sunday, and I missed the like little 30-second spot that they had where he's doing the barrel roll. But I just started seeing everything like I was trying to just happened to jump on Twitter while I was watching the championship games, and everybody was just all pissed, all like up in arms over like whether or not if his face was CGI'd or not. And I was just like,
Guys, calm down.
yes,
We live in a century where you see CGI in some of the most bizarre places.
yes, but
Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, but who cares? And also, post-production is not done.
exactly. And also, and it's and again, maybe James Gunn just needs to get off social media. Just pull a Kevin Feige and just don't react to the algorithm outrage machine, because you can't win.
Is he reacting?
Huh?
Is he reacting?
Oh yeah, I know you're not. I know you're not on Threads, but he went to Threads and basically was like, look, the shot was just it was no CGI. It was just I think the camera lens that he used just basically made
Got it.
Corn Sweat face look that way, and also yeah.
Look that way, man.
Yeah, but I mean, but the fundamental point is just like, dude, really? But yeah. But anyway, yeah, it was kind of, I mean, there's like stuff going on, but I know we had talked about wondering if the full trailer was going to drop on Super Bowl Sunday, and it will, but the little spot that says go check it out online will be on the Puppy Bowl, which obviously with tie-in with crypto and everything makes total sense.
I think there's more speculation though, not about Superman, because we already got the teaser. Okay,
yeah,
we already got the teaser.
yeah.
So that's why people are being critical, because I think the more expectation is when we're gonna get a first look at Fantastic Four. So
yeah, we're getting this. Yeah, we're getting it next weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know I'm not aware about all this, but if he's responding to people, then it's like, yeah, dude, you realize the job you signed up for, because like this is only the start. Wait until you're what? How many movies has Feige done?
Yeah. I think we're in the 40s now.
like just brace yourself for impact, man.
Yeah.
Like Snyder did how many? 5? Jeez.
Yeah.
Like, no, we are as viewers and as audiences, we're spoiled. And we're spoiled rotten.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just and we're unfortunately very loud about it.
Yes, we are.
So buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up for sure. Buckle up for sure. Yeah, I just happened to think about that as as I reflect on how even we've evolved and changed over time as far as how we approach a lot of these stories and stuff. As as we've we try to not always like fall into the outrage machine, and even to the point where I know we're sometimes it's like you don't even watch some of the trailers at this point because you're still worried about learning too much. But it is funny, I think how we started. We started with the Arrowverse, and now we've moved on to other things and expanded our horizons. But for as far as
they also shut down.
Yeah, well, no, but even before the shutdown, we were like, oh yeah, we'll see where this is going. We gotta pivot.
we were like, okay, so eventually this will end, and eventually either it'll end or we're like, how do we make a quick exit?
Yep.
I signed up for a trip, but this is taking a left turn, and I don't know if I can watch this all the way through this car crash.
Yeah.
We did bail on a few seasons there, but
we did.
You can't. You gotta do what's best for your mental health, and people want to talk about things. I feel like as podcasters over the 8 years, we've learned how we get more out of it when we are excited to talk about it, whether that be excited because we can have some really interesting conversations about that are critical of things. And then also just excited because like, oh my God, this is amazing. A, B, C, Y.
Yep.
But people, and I think listeners respond well to either of those kind of conversations. What I don't think either us as podcasters or the listeners like is when it's too repetitious, when it's like they've checked out, that makes listeners check out, and like I don't want to do that to our listeners. So
no,
even though I will repeat things.
So will I, but you're right. I mean, but if we're checked out, then the audience can I pride ourselves on our authenticity, and I think that's whenever we are our authentic selves and not trying to be something else or try to like force content that doesn't resonate with us, like then I think it's hopefully we definitely see that you all respond as far as our listeners, and we definitely respond to each other better and are better podcasters for when we are genuinely like interested in stuff. So hopefully we appreciate y'all going with us on this ride as we continue for another year, and let's hit that 10.
That is the goal right now. That is the goal right now. So at this point, I want to make it clear to our listeners. Stop listening if you haven't watched Paradise.
Yes.
Stop listening now. I kid you not. Please go watch the episode, watch both episodes, and come back. Like, You don't, I went into this having seen one trailer.
Hmm.
Okay? That was sufficient. Will, did you see 2 trailers?
I saw 2 trailers, but it's
Okay.
still just as Sarah cannot emphasize it more than what she just said. If you haven't watched the episode, especially the pilot, go watch it now
Yeah.
and then come
Yeah.
back and listen to us.
And then come back and listen to us. Okay? And that is your warning. Because yeah, I I should have known, Will. I should have known. But here's the funny thing, because I told you this,
Mhm.
but I didn't tell you this one thing. Technically, I heard about the pilot of This Is Us before I watched it.
Mm,
Okay?
it
So
wasn't
so
me.
so This Is Us, it's like a 8-year-old show.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not gonna say this is spoiler, but at the end of so This Is Us, the pilot episode, was groundbreaking viewer wise, and also, and I heard about it because I was listening to like Christian Harloff. I think he was on Collider, and him and Roxy were talking about it
Mm,
with Josh McCouga. Man, it's the show's old,
yeah,
but and they were saying like you're watching it, and then within the last half hour or the last scene, there's a subtle movement of the camera, and you realize that Jack and Rebecca are the parents
yep,
of these characters. So you've just watched an episode of television, not realizing you're seeing 3 different points in time.
yep.
So like, and it was a very bold statement. Why did I not go into this? I was sitting there, and I did like early on. Xavier is running, going on a jog,
Hmm.
going through the town, and I did think to myself, I was like, man, I've been to Hollywood and I've been on sets before. Why does this town look like such a set?
Yeah, yeah,
But then it faded, and
yeah.
then it faded. It's just there were. I have not rewatched this episode, but I had not. I was capturing. They did such a good job that they were subtle enough with all of the context clues,
Hmm.
but not overly
Yeah,
doing anything that by the time you're figuring it out right when they want you to,
yep,
like figure out that, oh, we're it's not that we're in present day or anything, it's also that we are literally in an underground city
hmm.
because of something that happens.
Yep.
And it's just, and I will say, and then we can get some of your thoughts on that big reveal,
Yeah.
but and the whole episode, but is that I did in the back of my mind all throughout the episode and even leading up, I'm like, I still don't understand why the show is called Paradise.
Yeah.
Like honestly, why Paradise? And they were so at the point when Cal mentions like how he's gonna retire and
Mhm.
go to Paradise and everything, I was like, oh, so that's Paradise.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, this show, because I mean, and just a couple of things from a production standpoint, and then I'll talk about the actual episode too. With the reveal. So, I wasn't a This Is Us watcher, but I did watch the pilot and stuff because I think you and I met about the time that when we first met, the show was going on, and I remember you talking about it. I remember you, um, you know, and so I was, but maybe I guess around 2019 or so, I probably finally did like watch a couple of the pilot, the first few episodes and stuff.
Mhm.
So, but obviously, but I'm not as far as Dan Fogelman's work. I mean, it's really, I by the time I did watch the show was already in, I think, its third or fourth season, so it was I was way behind, and there was just no way I could catch up. Um, but but one of the things that with this, to speaking of the reveal at the end of Paradise and this show generally, um, it, it it was very vague as far as the taglines.
Yeah.
What was going on here, and I think that was one of the so from the start, like you said, with when Xavier's jogging and we're he wakes up that morning, uh and the it's like you said, all the little context clues as far as like you just sort of exploring. Okay, we realized that okay, he's a widower, we get that.
Well,
uh
it's like, and I want to talk about that, but
yeah,
I think what you're getting at, it's that like they forced focus on
mm,
things and kept certain things out of focus,
yeah, yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah,
Like this pilot episode is structured very much where going into it, you're like, okay, his boss is gonna die and they're gonna blame him,
yeah,
or like there's some kind of conspiracy thing going on.
yeah,
So that's what you're watching
that's
while you're also picking up some things, because like if we want to start at the very beginning, retrospectively, I find the opening shot to be fascinating just because it's like him in bed, dark,
yep,
and there's clearly he's on his side of the bed.
mhm,
And he reaches over and very poignantly, his hand is like perfectly centered and it shows the wedding ring.
yeah, yeah,
Now, the rest of the episode, they don't verbatim say she's dead.
no,
I really right. So part of you is also like, okay, so now there's this other mystery about him and his wife. What's going
mhm,
on there?
mhm,
And you don't find out until the second episode that yes, she is deceased.
right,
And so that allows to like, okay, so they want that to be like like a more of a family story. But yeah, because the next one comes with James and the Giant Peach.
yeah.
And I warned you, Will, that there's a few scenes that I have some soapbox moments.
You warned me about that Sunday night.
Did.
Yeah.
I just had one of them, and my next one is going to be about James and Giant Peach. Just because I did clock it. I was like, why is he so weird about that book?
Mhm.
I did clock that initially, but I just love how it we fast forward towards when we find out what his last conversation with Cal was
Yeah.
about. And during that conversation, we learn about the significance of James and the Giant Peach.
Mhm.
And it was done so well because he basically says his wife was obsessed with the novel.
Yep.
And he learned all of this stuff about it. And then he drops the tidbit. Did you know that it was going to be James and the Giant Cherry? And now all I can think about is if that was the title, what would the name of our son be? Like
Yeah.
it wouldn't be James, or would it? And really, what that story from the past
Mhm.
is telling the viewers is currently in paradise, all he can think to himself is what would have happened if Cal had kept the same lead agent.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like it's just, oh, I could go into so much about why that is so substantial, and it's mainly because it's a perfect example of the use of a flashback. Like this
Yes.
whole show so far, we're only 2 episodes in, but I am loving their use of flashbacks to not only contextualize the history of the characters, but more importantly, to contextualize the present day.
Mhm.
I feel like over the last years, we've watched several shows, and the first one that comes to mind is Reacher.
Yep.
This past season of Reacher, season 2, there was an entire B storyline in flashback.
Mhm.
And I complained the entire time. I was like, why are we watching what feels like two different shows? But like the flashbacks aren't really saying anything significant about who these characters were versus who they are now. Like I understood how they were using it. It wasn't anything special. But Dan Fogelman, what he's doing with this, and it makes all the sense in the world for how he played with time in This
Yeah.
Is Us. But the flashbacks are really showing you in very unsurprising, like surprising ways about why the characters are behaving the
Yeah.
way they are in present day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was whenever I have that moment, whenever at the end of pulling the book and the story and understanding why Xavier had that reaction when his son was reading the book. So first I was like, okay, I mean, I know Roald Dahl, I mean, so and I was like, so what's so significant of,
Mm-hmm.
about why, because I mean, this book was banned and stuff. So I was like, so I was trying to figure like, okay, now what's about Roald Dahl that's like Roald Dahl that was like it calls him to have that reaction. But then whenever, like you said, the use of the flashback to like really, it just really just contextualized everything that that what that why Xavier reacted the way that he did, and not only um the story, but also this that quick moment when they flash as far as with Xavier's wife, and of course and we get confirmation.
That's the second episode.
Oh yeah, the second episode. Yeah, that's the only thing. I'm glad we didn't do all three.
Yeah,
I would have blended all three of this. Yeah, but at least it did. Yeah, but I mean, but yeah, that's to that point. It does, like, when we do get confirmation, it just like really explains their relationship, and why he was just so bitter towards him. Whenever that last night before Wildcat goes down.
Wait. So, wait, you gotta.
Yeah.
I don't know if you expressed your point.
Yeah. No, I guess it explains. Thanks. I was getting the episodes conflated there. Hearing the story at the end of the episode makes it really contextualize why for me why he was so his reaction that morning at breakfast whenever the book came up. And to your point, it does explain. It's a great use of flashback to just flesh out these characters and help us understand their motivations
Right.
and we learn so much about them without with a natural flow of the story instead of just just exposition dump of
Oh my God.
of telling us instead, showing us instead of telling us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could argue like this is all dialogue, but it's the way it's written where
Yeah.
it feels like honest conversations between people who
Yeah.
have history. Like I again, we've watched shows where there are characters who are mainly or pretty much have to be in the past.
Mhm.
Those characters never stand out to me because I'm like, oh, you're dead. Cal is amazing.
Yeah. Oh,
James Marsden, I'm so glad that you are on the up and up because you are cast so well in this part.
totally.
Like you knew it from the moment Xavier went in for the interview. Like I felt as a viewer I was interviewing James Marsden because I know Sterling K. Brown. Like it's Sterling K. Brown. Like arguably he's doing the same role as a lot of things, but whatever, it's Sterling K. Brown. James Marsden, though, I'm glad that it was clear to me he's not necessarily poking fun at a single president, but more of like a few mixed together.
Yeah.
It's not an impression or anything, no. But you also with all the scenes, especially in the second episode, you do start to see the charm.
Yeah.
And I think that why the casting is so good because the chemistry between these two and the just the within the first meeting, so you hired me because I was black.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I'm hired you because you're good. It's a bonus that you're black.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just the way. And then of course, we see, which I thought initially was a bit premature, because we do see during the opening montage that there's a bullet wound on Xavier's back.
Yep.
And we learn within the first episode where that came from. It came from saving the president from an assassination attempt.
Yep.
And I was like, whoa, we're getting that this early? But I'm guessing that there's a lot more to tell than just where that bullet wound came from. And it allowed for another good kind of past meets present situation, like James and Giant Peach, because this episode is called Wildcat Down. But you hear when Xavier in present day calls in that, or when he calls his other agent, Wallace, Billy.
Yep, Billy, yep.
He doesn't say Wildcat Down. He says Lancaster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lancaster. Leitner. Christian Leitner.
Leitner, yeah. Christian Leitner, yeah. Basketball,
Christian Leitner. And we don't, and so for a moment I was like, why you say that name? Like, again, people, I don't know. I was paying attention.
Yep.
And I did not see the end coming. But so then fast forward to the flashback of him getting shot and taking the bullet for Cal. Cal is by his bedside, and then we hear this great story from Cal about the Wildcats and what it means to get Christian Leitner.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God, the writing.
And I will tell you, as someone who, so good. And as someone who lives on Tobacco Road, where Duke and North Carolina, and I love the banter too, because, you know, thinking back to like the conversation of with the interview with Cal and Xavier, you know, about race and black and just the, you know, Cal just assumed that just because Xavier's a black man, he was a big basketball fan or big sports fan or whatever. And it, you know, and again, it just conversations like that flesh out the character again. You know, it's you know, to use the dialogue in an efficient and realistic way. Really works there. So, you know, so whenever I heard the Christian Leitner remark, you know, the story, and of course remembering that shot, you know, because I'm a big sports fan and stuff, and it just added another level for me as far as like, oh, this show gets it.
Oh yeah, like it's not just that the show gets it; that the show is doing some. This is one of the best pilots I've seen in arguably 8 years.
Yeah. I was hooked. I mean, I from the start to finish, I was just like, I couldn't wait, you know, because you know, I messaged you. I was like, hey, the show it dropped early because it was really going to drop, you know, Tuesday, and they dropped it early on Sunday night. So I was like, hey, let me tell you now, because I want to talk, especially after I watched it. I was like, okay, please watch it tonight, please, so I can like say something to you.
yeah, because it's also something you're like, I don't want to spoil that for anybody, but it's just the execution from start to finish is so good, and I kept thinking about this. I'm like, it feels different talking about the brilliance of this show in this pilot episode versus when we were ragging a few months ago talking about the brilliance of Penguin's pilot, or even surprisingly Agatha All Along. But those are different. Like, see, I think what people forget is this is an original series.
Yes, yeah.
An original series that is also not based in steep mythology.
Nope.
It's so it, for all intents and purposes, this should have been a very simple and routine procedural, but there is enough of that to not overcomplicate things, but there's also this subtleness that just makes it feel so much more alive and refreshing to hear actual dialogue, not get exposition dumps, not have to worry about like, oh man, I have to know what happened 100 years prior. Like, we're just five years prior we have to figure out, but we'll get there eventually. We'll get there. We're here for the ride. And it's just a lot of things where I didn't really even pick up on this until I was sat down to watch the second episode, Sinatra. But he finds Cal's body, and we're going to do a synopsis of the actual events and then jump into the second episode, guys. But I just want to get through these few beats first. That he finds Cal's body, and he doesn't call it in. He looks for the safe. And then it's the mystery for the next 20 minutes is like, why is he so concerned about this, whatever was in the safe? We find out that it was a tablet containing the world's biggest, darkest secrets, global news, etc.
Yeah.
But the most importantly, he takes a cigarette box from Cal, right?
Yep.
And we see him running back through town, and that's when we start to realize where they actually are and where the setting in present day is in paradise and what paradise is. And he and then he pulls out the cigarette and it shows a code. And that leads us into the next episode. But here's my point for bringing that up, not just because of the code, it's significant in episode 2, but that the second flashback we see between Cal and Xavier, Cal is smoking, and Xavier, like, they have an exchange because Cal, I feel like it wants Xavier to smoke.
Yeah.
And he's like,
he wants him to drink and he wants him to smoke. But
yeah. But what? Because what's in that box will kill you.
Yep.
And it turns out that there's the significance of this 8-digit number potentially could behind it have led to Cal's death. And it's just like that subtleness. Again, I didn't even pick it up in the moment. It took me to watching the second episode to make that connection between that line and that scene.
Yeah. That's a great point. Also to, not only with that scene where they are out on the porch there outside the Oval Office and the discussing whether about kids.
Yep.
And they have this discussion as far as like, you plan on having any more, and then Cal's like, that's probably a good idea. And then when you tie that into like whatever's on that tablet, especially after the assassination attempt, and where because of that moment, and and also with whenever Xavier's recuperating in the hospital, and just whenever they have that unspoken like realization of what has happened, and now that their bond really, just seeing how that relationship evolved, and then that he took a bullet for him literally, and that opened the door to coming into office with all the national security folks and stuff, and they're like, we have something we want to tell you, and they let him in on what's going on with the box, the secrets and all that kind of stuff. So
they let him on the plane.
And they let him on the plane, yeah.
Him and his children on the plane. And we'll find out eventually why the wife wasn't there either.
Yeah, Yeah. And one of the things I was thinking with the code is like, is it, is this code tied to the wife and stuff, especially what we learned in the second episode. But let me get back to the first episode. Um, where I was going with that is just with the line about, it's probably a good thing not that you're probably not having anymore.
Hmm.
Just, clearly shows that Cal knew something was afoot that was going to cause this global catastrophe that led them all to go underground. And so that's another one of those, again, context clues and another like line of dialogue that at the moment you don't realize it in the flashback, but then when you carry forward and see where, when we get the big reveal at the end, why it makes so much great sense, and how they just sort of unpack this mystery that's taking place in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, those scenes, and we are going into the second episode, lead us to understand how Xavier earned his way to getting onto the plane, and saving his family from whatever happened. But I just want to understand why Billy got on the plane, and why Billy seems to know a lot more. like anybody else curious about that? I would just like, from the opening scene between the two of them, I was at first thinking they didn't really like each other, but no, Billy and Xavier are tight.
They're tight. Yeah, I mean Billy. Yeah, because I think he wasn't. I think Billy held on to that cigarette pack until Kyle was like walking out of the room. Because I think they just had that like that quick handoff.
Yeah.
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 So yeah.
So the next episode, Sinatra, is all about Samantha Redmond, who we learn about in this episode. We meet briefly, when it is finally called in that Cal Wildcat is down. But this episode is really about her and what her role is in Paradise. And arguably it sets her up to be the antagonist of the series. Like, we don't really know, but it does it in this way where, yeah, something's off. I can understand, but we also watch her lose her son.
Yeah.
And I laugh because it's the flashbacks are all tied to her and her grief about that very poignantly. And then by the end of the episode, it's basically the implication is she built paradise for her son.
Yeah. Oh, that's the whenever I saw all those mechanical horses.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's just like, I just like chef's kiss. I mean, just pulling that together, and from how
You can't hate her.
Yeah.
You can't. No, you cannot. You cannot hate her for having having to go through that, and also figure it out. It's very weird, that interaction she had with her daughter, though, in present day. I was like, wow, you're still fucked up.
Yeah.
You're not who you were, but I just love the dialogue, the line of dialogue that stuck out to me, at least in the past. Besides her interaction with Cal, but we'll get there. Was when she was sitting down with Dr. Throbbey, yeah. And she says, time is making it worse because it's taking me further away from when he was here. And I was like, I am a very fortunate person. I have not dealt with a whole lot of grief, but man, is that not what I can only imagine it is to feel like when you're going through that. Like, and yet, oddly enough, I never heard somebody put it that way on screen.
Yeah. I had to pause, like, as I was watching that. I mean, I had to pause the episode, but it was just, it touched me, somewhat, one, just, as a parent, I just really, that my heart just like went out like to this character, because I could just, that's the thing a parent never ever wants to like ever have to experience. And and so hats off to Julianne Nicholson for that was so real as far as I don't know whatever she tapped into to convey that scene, but it was just so real and so honest.
Yeah. And it also, it was said, and then it led to almost a breakdown of where it's like, I don't want to heal. I just need to be functional.
Yeah.
And you have that, which is such a different, I know it's not contradictory, but it's the opposite of what you see her as in present day. Because in present day, she is very functional, too functional.
Too functional, yeah. But also, very functional. But also when we see, whenever she and her husband meet, and she's like on the rise as well.
Yeah.
It just like, they did again the great use of the flashbacks and how they met, and when she talks about how she's so broken, her says my marriage is broken, I just want to be able to, like you said, be able to function, and so part of me too, I was just like wondering, like with the one scene you brought up about her daughter, I'm like, now is the daughter still with us, or did the daughter?
Yeah, they edited that so well when he's at the end, when it's her and Xavier and she says, "Oh, I had 2 children." Cut.
Yeah.
Edit to a flashback, and I'm like, so I'm going into that flashback like, oh great, we're gonna get another child dead. This is not good. But no, they made sure to do that, and only to trick us, because no, the daughter's alive. It looked like her and her husband are somewhat still in, like there's something, but she's definitely still, she's not all there. There's something off. Now, I don't know what that has to do with Cal, but I did like how, as we continue to talk about the interplay between the past and the present in this show. But I was thinking the whole episode now, why is this episode called Sinatra? And then it's like, oh, okay, Samantha Redmond is Sinatra. And so I like how she tells Xavier, do you know why my detail calls me Sinatra? And he's like, I thought it was because of the hats.
Yep.
And I feel like that may be in the middle of the episode, because I felt like it took a few scenes, and then we get in the past again, and her sitting in on this very weird conference about the end of the world, and Cal randomly is there too, and then they meet, and he's the one who tells her about how his dad refers to her as Sinatra.
Yep.
I can't wait to meet Cal's dad fully.
Yeah, we did get a glimpse. I think we did get a brief glimpse of his father and and his ex-wife, and obviously the son. Yeah.
But it's more, I like how they're kind of putting that character in the background, because not only are we starting to get bits about Cal's relationship with him, but now there's this connection. It seemed like Samantha knew Cal through his father.
Yeah.
Like, so how did they meet? And then, and also, what did she do to make her like give off this instance that everyone looks to her? Like, she has this power, and almost arguably stability in her to lead, which is something that his dad tells Cal that he lacks.
Yeah.
But Samantha, it's funny because it's only taken me 2 episodes. Like, Samantha doesn't have the charm that Cal has.
Right.
In which he says, it's like, enough people just like me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, he definitely, he's not. James Marsden is like playing this character, like you said. It's not. It's a amalgamation of like multiple personalities as far as like past presidents. I mean, he's got the charm of Bill Clinton. As far as the policy pieces, nobody. He's like, yeah, I'm a senator. At that point, whenever we do get that flashback, at that point, he's still a senator.
Yeah.
So, So, so as I was watching that scene, I was like, so, was she, as far as his becoming a presidential candidate, I mean, was she like, was she chief of staff or something in the White House, or, some kind of role? But, this just seems to be the moment where, she hears that speech, and of course she does, eventually chase after the crazy guy talking about the ice caps melting and stuff.
She chased. She just asked him a question about what to do
Yeah,
if
what
that
to do.
were to happen.
Yeah, what to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, what to do, and then that gives her the idea
Yeah.
to go.
She
But
does.
more importantly, Cal brought up Dylan, and
Yeah.
that's what she really needed to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll let you finish.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that. That's where I was going to go. He did bring up Dylan and get to your point about the charm, and it was just like, I think it just really resonated with her, and that's where I was just like, oh, I can see where they become very, they become confidants with one another, especially, as she, learn, whatever she gets the idea to like build a place that, that as we see at the beginning of the episode, with the flashback, it's the size of Toledo, and we get the, we do, I like the way they showed how after we get that big reveal, we get sort of a backstory as far as like, how this project came into being, as far as. Huh?
It's just I'm just saying somewhat. Like
Yeah.
they're telling us, giving us enough information to be satisfied, while at the same time still there's a lot of things that are cloudy, and
Yeah.
we're not this is not a straightforward narrative, and it's
No.
not being told that way. So we're getting pieces.
Right.
And I think they want us to color in, but at this rate, I'm like, nope, I'm not coloring in yet, because I think if I were to color that red, I would find out 3 episodes later I should have colored it blue. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hold my cards if
Yeah.
you're gonna play them like this.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I tried not, as I was watching it, I was like, let me not get too far, like, like too far ahead here, because like I said, I was already like, oh, Kyle and Sinatra's relationship here, Sam's relationship. I'm like, I was already having them like be working together to do, clearly I think they did, but it's just like, I was trying to figure out how, the how of it all. And I think I'm just getting ahead of myself, and just instead of let's let the story play out like as it's going to.
Yeah. For a moment, I thought you were going to say like how I started to do fan fiction about them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should be doing it about those two, because apparently, like, it's very clear to us that Robinson is sleeping with Cal, right?
Yeah. No, that was very clear. And there was, from the very end of the episode 1, when, as Xavier's like sizing up the scene, and the earrings there in the room, and then so, but again, I love how they're just building this mystery. I mean, it's just like this show has so many, like, you could say it's this dystopian sci-fi thing. It could be just a straightforward, like I said, a mystery procedural. I mean, it has so many genres that it's like blending here. It's just so great.
Yeah, hopefully they don't go sci-fi. I don't want them to go sci-fi, because I will check out. I will check out, because it just reminds me of the 3 person problem.
Yeah.
Because I will admit my love of that show dropped when I found out it was about aliens.
I don't think we're going aliens. I think it's maybe more like Last of Us or Fallout, or that dystopian. Yeah.
Fallout, I do. I is where my theory is, and it's only because in the first episode, during the scene between Cal and Xavier, the night of Cal's death, he tells him, like, he asks him, when are you gonna forgive me?
Mm-hmm.
And then Xavier says, I'll forgive you when you're dead.
Yeah.
And but so it's hard to say if it's a natural disaster, why that would be Cal's fault.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Unless he knows something that's part of the deep secrets, you know.
Well, the deep secrets, but it's also like, okay, I'll have to understand. They have to make sure to back up how it's actually Cal's fault.
Yeah.
Like Cal, like I said, like we said before, like he was just how long between that scene between him and Samantha
Hmm.
when he was just a senator
Yeah.
and becoming president, like we don't know that official timeline. So yeah, if it's a part of the deep secret, did he inherit that secret? But anyway,
Yeah.
we could
Yeah.
go, that's
Yeah.
all speculation. That's neither here nor there about this.
Yeah. Getting back to the
I
episode
think
itself.
if
Yeah.
there's anything else I want to talk about in the second episode, I'm not as high on the second episode as I was on the first, just because the first it was really hard to.
Yeah. I think the other. Yeah. Well, I think the other big thing. I think the second episode. Just had a couple more thoughts, and then we can wrap it up. But whenever when Xavier's interrogation is going on, and of course, you know, we talked about Samantha and Doctor. Um,
Robbie.
yeah, Robbie's relationship, but also we also learned that Tarabi, you know, was very instrumental in helping. You know, she did have the one session with Kyle, with excuse me, with
Maybe.
Xavier after, and you know, and so when the interrogation is happening, and you know, Xavier's passing the lie detector test and everything, and then she, you know, and clearly. Uh, Things were going south at Robinson, so she's like, "Well, let me stop this so we can go in here. Let me get, you know," and then she, you know, flashes his hands like answer yes whenever the question comes up about whether or not he,
Yeah.
you know, he wanted him dead. I thought that was a very, you know, again, it was very, you know, clearly the way that things were recorded, sort of presented with this show was like, you know, it made it seem like, and it still is, you know, Xavier's the primary suspect, but I like, you know, but her giving him the assist, and in that moment him trusting her, you know, again, um opens the door. You know, we'll get, I'm sure as the series progresses, we'll get more information as far as why even after just one session they have this bond here. And then the other thing is like the, you know, the with the cigarette that we talked about back in the code.
Wait. Can we?
Yeah.
I just want to talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
what you just said, because I
Yeah.
just want to put my 2 cents in there on that scene.
Yeah.
I don't think that scene told me a lot about her trying to bond or save with Xavier, because it was only one session in the past.
Yeah.
It was more about, I think it had shown me more about her dynamic with Samantha,
Mm.
because she knew Samantha, like he could have, Robinson could have kept asking. There, all the signs were there. He's trained to pass this
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
test. Like he knows what to do.
Yep.
This isn't going to go anywhere, and nobody's going to believe it. So she figured out the only way to end this would be for him to tell arguably the truth
Mm.
and answer this question. So then, and that's why you have that scene later where she says, well, if he's such a good liar, why would he admit that he despised Cal?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't he just lie about that as well? So she knew he needed to know like how to respond to that, because
Yeah.
he would have said no, which, and Samantha wouldn't have been convinced. And I still don't think she fully is.
No. No.
And not in the least, but it at least ended that and kind of just put him on the
Yeah.
bench.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I don't know how much really if Samantha's to blame either. Like we don't know who, there isn't some, it isn't very obvious at this point who is behind the
No.
murder.
It's not. It's not.
At all.
No,
So
it's not at all, but also, um Yeah, but but I think to your point about it showing Samantha's relationship, and also just overall with this whole episode, especially seeing how she, even though Kyle was the president of Paradise, she was clearly some of the, she was the engine that was sort of driving this thing, especially when you see her interactions with the rest of the I don't know if they're like board of directors or whatever you want to call them, who are the um, leaders of or council or whatever, for
Yeah,
the
yeah, I know
entity.
who you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And you brought up the cigarettes.
yeah. Just how just to bookend that from our conversation from about episode one, um, with what whenever they had the town hall and Kyle's son, and Xavier's daughter go to the aircraft hangar, and whenever and they juxtapose the scenes of Xavier, lighting a cigarette and flashing a number, and then they show the flight the plane
Yep.
registry number,
Yep.
and also like, okay, and I think was it, and I know you corrected me earlier about this was the episode where we did get a flash of the uh, 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 I took it as Kyle's wife, not Kyle, Xavier's
No,
wife.
no. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. And so you know, and tying everything together, was she on that plane? Was this a plane code? Was this, was she like going to another paradise, or another bunker somewhere? I mean, because it seems like there may be some of those things out, other cities, maybe
Right.
underground cities out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's just like, okay, so in this episode we learn it's a city that seemingly holds 25,000 people.
mm,
We don't know how many other, like, if there are other cities built or anything. We just know about Paradise. Considering there's going to be a second season, I kind of am suspicious.
yeah,
Because I'm also like, man, they just let Xavier and his kids go to Paradise, and Billy,
yeah,
like what for 25,000? I don't know. It's very weird. So I get
yeah,
what you're saying about that. Um, and I agree. It has something to do with an airplane, or else they wouldn't have held on that shot of the registry for so long.
yeah.
But but it, yeah, and the wife mystery, until we see a body.
Yep.
I don't really know. I don't really know. Part
Yeah.
of me, I'm not gonna lie, part of me spent the first episode being like, I wonder if Xavier's wife killed him.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's a
Yeah.
scientist. I don't know.
It could be.
Like,
It
what?
could.
It'll be very interesting. I mean, we've gone through 2 episodes, have yet to fully see flesh and blood who Xavier's wife is.
Yeah.
Like that there the significance is there, and we got 6 more episodes.
Yep.
We're going to talk about episodes 3 and 4 next week, and then
Yep.
we're going to go on to a week by week basis with this show. We probably missed a ton. I'm looking forward to the whole Xavier and Billy bromance starting, and how that's going to be different from the Cal and Xavier bromance, because the Cal and Xavier one, man, that's like fighting with your ex-wife or something.
Yeah.
Like, man, because even at the end, after talking to the first lady about how much of a racist Cal is, he still stands there and is with Billy and is like, she's standing there, and he's referring to Samantha Redmond, and I'm watching her and I'm listening to her, and our man is gone. Like, it was such a bro moment.
It was a total bro moment. Yeah. And he's like, I'm
Bro
gonna take,
moment.
and it's like, I'm gonna fucking take her down. And he was,
Yeah, I'm gonna take her down.
yeah, and carefully. Yeah. How are you gonna do that, boss? How are you gonna do that, boss? Carefully. I was just like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, and I think Fogelman did say that this series, I think he has a 3-season plan for this show.
Yeah,
So
it can't
buckle
go
up, y'all.
on.
Yeah.
It can't go. All right. Well, on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk on all the socials at WILLMPOLK.
Please follow our crew on Twitter, formerly or X, formerly known as Twitter, at Seen a Nerd. Also, you can follow me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBLMONT. Please follow us on Blue Sky at Seen a Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Threads at scene_n_nerd, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.